right, welcome back to the Earn Your Couch podcast. Today we got episode 16 with Coleman and myself. We're talking really the first half of 2025, the themes, how we'd kind of define the year so far, and then what do we want to carry forward into the second half of the year, and what are some of the things that we want to let go. And so it's a reflective conversation, but also a conversation looking forward, and I'm looking forward to diving into it. Let's do it. Can't change the rules. Fred, I need you to choose a location. Perfect.
He's just like,
Look at
okay.
him.
Hey, buddy.
Lay down. Good. All right, man. Well, dude, happy Sunday.
Happy Easter, man.
Happy Easter. Wrong day. That's okay.
It's Sunday.
I have a question for you. Kind of get the podcast rolling here. You interested in hearing the question?
Yeah, no, I was waiting for you to ask it.
Oh, okay.
No,
Perfect.
sorry about that.
My question to you, and I heard this in another podcast, not exactly asked this, but they mentioned the theme of 2025 for them. And so I guess now that we're literally at the 6-month mark, this is going to get released 6 months and a day or so. How would you define the themes of 2025 so far? Like, what season of life are you in?
Good question. One that I got to think about. Have you already came up with yours based off your podcast that you listen to?
No, question for you.
I think the theme is why the hell not when asked to do things or when thinking about doing things. I think
Elaborate.
I hold myself back a lot of the time when I'm like, I want to go do this. And I tell somebody like, yeah, I want to go do that, but I just don't do it. But I say I want to go do it. And so now it's turned into, why the hell not? Let's go do it. So, for example, 75 hard this year. I was saying I wanted to try 75 for a while. We did it. In terms of like investing more in health, I want to be better at routines. I want to be better at going and trying new things in terms of like getting into running and like actually using good running shoes and investing in that portion of it. Went and did it. I feel like I would kind of make excuses to not go do these things in 2024 and in the past, but I would always say like, I want to do that. And I think maybe part of it is the accountability from other people in your life that help you go and do it. But also I think it's going through 75, having this podcast over the last months or so, talking about what we're doing, talking about why we haven't done it yet, almost like ideating and like problem solving reasons as to how we can get better, how we can go do those things, has helped me go like, why the hell not? Let's do it. And I want to adapt more of that into like even just doing more fun things too. Like, so for example, Jill and I were talking about, this was in April. In April, we were talking about going to San Francisco because we live an hour and 20 minutes away. And how we want to go to botanical gardens. We want to go to Dodgers Giants series. We want to go stay in SF. And she was just like, let's go do it. Like, let's go do that. That sounds fun. And then I immediately go, well, what about the dogs? We're going to have to figure out the dogs. We're going to, like, making excuses. And then she's just like, we'll figure it out. Let's go do it. Why the hell not? And I need that attitude way more often. And so then we went, got 2 tickets to back-to-back games for Dodgers Giants hotel. Gonna go see Botanical Gardens and go see Pier 39 and have a good time in San Francisco. Struggled a lot at the time of like, well, I have all this responsibility, so it's not going to work out, instead of just like going and doing these things. So this past 6 months, I've been doing more of that, and I want to do more of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just saw there's a concert happening at SAP Center for Parker McCollum, and he just released a new album yesterday. He's a country singer, and we went and saw him 2 years ago at the Paso Fair, and we're like, we really liked his music. He was really good live. Like, he was a good artist live. And he has a concert coming up in August. We should go do that. They're only $50 right now. Like, that sounds really fun. We should go do that. So now I'm like getting ready to go get those tickets just to make sure we're not actually doing anything that weekend. We need to confirm with people. Just go do it, right? Like, why the hell not? Sounds fun. Because I've always been really bad at just pulling the trigger on things without being fully confident I can go do them. And so I think in the last 6 months, I've been better at that, but I want to continue to get better at it. Jill's really good at it, and she's kind of helped me do more of that. But same thing with like running. So like last weekend, I woke up and I was like, I still haven't ran a half marathon, and I wrote it down in my like I had it written down in my book, December 24th, 2024, um, to basically sign up and run a marathon in 2025. And I just kept not signing up. I injured my knee early in the year, which held me back a lot because I couldn't run on my knee. And then Saturday morning, I woke up and I was just like, I'm going to go run a half marathon. Why the hell not? And then I just went and ran it. It wasn't very fast. It was like 12-minute pace. But I told myself I was going to do that 6 months ago. And I'm all,
Mm,
if I don't just do it, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to just I'm not going to wait to sign up for one, right? I can go run one right now, today, again, if I wanted to, because
mm.
you don't need a race to do it. So why the hell not? Went and ran it, and my legs were like jello afterwards. I couldn't walk for a few hours. I'm not kidding. No, I'm not kidding. I got
Well,
home.
maybe that's the why the hell not. I really like when my legs work. No, that's awesome. I think that's cool. I got that text when we were up in a camping setting, and there's like one for a quick little jog. So it sounds to me like the start of the year had some built-in routine, discipline, um, getting after it in terms of health with 75 hard, just naturally, right? And you felt like you just started to take action. Why not? Why not? I'm just gonna go for a run. I'm gonna invest in my health. I'm gonna enjoy the shoes that I have. I'm gonna like let's do this. And it sounds to me like maybe carrying forward, you're trying to have that like why the hell not attitude for experiences and not necessarily worrying about all of the logistics in order to make that experience happen, but being like, I want to do that. So let's sign up for it and then we'll figure out how to do it later.
Yeah. Well, that's why I want to continue to push that further this year. Like, there's always like the idea of, oh, well, we're trying to save up for wedding coming up and we're trying to save up for a house, and so you have that guilt feeling of like, oh, spending that much consistently all year takes away from that.
Mm,
But also it's more of the idea of, oh, hey, that looks fun, we should go do that, and actually taking action on it versus like, that looks fun, we should go do that, and then never actually doing it. Does that make sense? Because that happens a lot for me, at least. I'm really bad at that. Like, okay, let's do it. Jill's really good at that, and so I'm seeing that from her a lot of the time. And like, I don't want to hold both of us back from me just being like, no, I don't know if it's gonna work. But
yeah.
being okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. Let's make it
What do you
happen.
think? What do you think those are? Are those what fears are those?
Honestly, it's the responsibility factor where I feel really responsible for my dogs, well, our dogs, and I hate putting that responsibility on other people, like asking for their help because it's my responsibility. But then also I think it's just the anxiety of trying to figure out the whole plan without having the whole plan set in stone, you know? Like, it's like, well, where are we going to stay? Or how are we going to get back? What time should we get there? Like, these anxieties build up in my head of, why am I making myself worried about that? Instead, don't let that be the reason why you don't go do something and do it, and then learn to figure it out from there.
It's like it seems like it's the unknown, the ambiguity of the logistics can be enough of a stressor that just it blocks you from actually doing it in the long run, or that's been a blocker in the past at least.
Yeah, I think I'm not great at being uncomfortable, you
Yeah.
know? So pushing myself to be more uncomfortable in terms of traveling and all that is a good thing to get better at, right? But I've always been like a homebody in the sense of like, I'm comfortable where I'm at. This is where I feel comfortable. I'm good. I'm okay right here. And I think pushing yourself to be a little bit more uncomfortable in terms of traveling and going and doing more things, taking more risks, like saving your money, but also knowing that like the money you have saved up for like trips and stuff should be used for trips. I was thinking to myself like I have a vacation fund. Why am I not using it? Like I put money away every month for a vacation. I should probably use it. And then the other thing is, I don't know about you, but I personally like feel one, it's hard to take work off because we're both in startups, so as you know, a lot's going on. But two, I feel guilty when I take work off too, in the sense of like, well, me taking work off creates more work for me when I get back as well, as you understand.
Hmm.
So that's part of it in the sense of, oh man, I don't want to take more time off to then create more work for me later and get behind. Instead, it's a lot easier to not do that. And so all these variables, which, is totally, it's reasonable to feel that way for working in a startup and working in a really fast paced environment. I think I need to just learn to say, why the hell not, a lot more, and then let things get figured out as they unfold versus understanding. I'm not just going to understand I'm not going to figure everything out right then and there. It's like,
Why do you?
for example, committing to a race, like, and saying, oh, I'm going to go run that marathon, and then going, well, how am I going to actually like get ready for that properly? And then how am I actually going to run the 26 miles in 3 to 4 or 5 hours? Like, what? How's that going to work? Instead, you're just like, okay, going to go run a marathon. Now, every week, I want to run at least, 10 to 15 miles and stay consistent. And then, like, 2 months before the marathon, I want to be running, half marathons every weekend to prep for it.
Mhm.
And, it's just when you get anxiety, all that stuff builds up in your head and you just got to learn how to solve it. It's an ongoing battle, but I think for 2025, the theme for me is like, I actually really like that. Why the hell not? Because I personally need to get better at say like pulling the trigger, and I want to get better at that too.
Why do you think? Why do you feel like you want to get better at being in the discomfort or being uncomfortable? I mean, I can assume some reasons, but like, why do you feel like something that you want to work on?
Because I want to I want to not be stressed out every time I'm in an uncomfortable situation. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, you can be uncomfortable in really good situations. You know what I mean? Like you're out at a concert in a place you've never been before, and you're having a fun time, but then all of a sudden you're getting like you need to get home. And then it's a mess to get home, and you're in traffic and people are walking, people are clueless, people are honking, and you're just like in a kind of stressful environment almost all of a sudden. Or for example, on a whole different level, like life happens and life changes as you grow up. Like wedding, being engaged is super happy time, but also comes with a lot of other stress on top of that with planning and doing all these things and
Hmm.
finances. And then like all there's just so much changing at a time that you can feel uncomfortable in some situations because you've never done that before. You've never, so. And then the same thing like when you eventually have like a kid. Like Jill and I were talking about this the other day. You have a kid at the hospital and then you go home the next day with the baby, and you're like, we've been
Okay.
alive for 20 at that point we've been alive for like 27 years, and now this is the first time we're taking care of like a little baby. What the hell are we supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like you can be uncomfortable in really good times. And so for me, I've come to the realization, and this was a lot through therapy too, is I stress myself out because I'm uncomfortable, because I don't have the answer right away, or because I don't have the set plan right away, or it hasn't happened yet. And I'm building up this situation in my head that it's all going to go wrong. So learning to feel uncomfortable and getting better at it when the time comes when you are uncomfortable in any situation, you know how to adapt to that. It's very, very similar to honestly before I started running. Like I would run 2 miles and I'd be beat first time I started running, gassed, just super tired. And I would think to myself, I don't understand how people run 6 miles. Like that's crazy. And now, like, I'll go run 6 miles and I'm totally fine. Like, I feel good. But during the times of building up for that, training your body for it, you feel uncomfortable because you feel tired. So it's just training a muscle basically, and honestly, training the muscle to be uncomfortable. If you can feel confident being uncomfortable, it's a superpower. So
Gotta be comfortable in the uncomfortable.
yeah, so I mean that's where I'm at with that. On a whole nother level though, to be fair, like there's also times where I might not know anything at work, but I've been in so many situations now where new things come up. I've never learned it before. I haven't experienced it. That now when I don't know something, I'm not panicking. I'm just like, let's figure it out. Go and figure it out. That's the type of mindset that I want to have when I'm like in a stressed out, uncomfortable situation. Does that make sense? Like, this doesn't feel right. I'm not used to this. Let's solve it. Versus me panicking and Jill going, can you please calm down? It's not that big of a deal. And I'm all like, but the gophers are going to chew up all the plants. We got to get rid of all of them. Like, how are we going to do that? Let's figure it out. We'll get traps. We'll gas them out. And now, we've been gassing the gophers out. It's
We got the gophers.
no, really, it's awesome. We every single time a new fresh mound comes up, we scoop the mound up. There's a fresh hole. We get this little dynamite gas thing, light it up, throw it in the hole. Gas spreads, and we're all like, "Not today, gophers. You're not taking apart our grass. Not today."
This podcast is not brought to you by.
We work in landscape, okay? We work in landscape half the time.
Well, I think that is a Super Bowl football. I think it's a super admirable focus because I think if you can increase the amount of time that you're not adding stress to your life because you're in a position where it's not in your house where the lights are on and there's no issues. Like if that's what's required to feel comfortable, that's and then you're just going to be uncomfortable all the time. And so being comfortable in the uncomfortable is a cool skill. That reminds me of a quote or an idea that I heard on a podcast the other day. Alex Hormozy and Chris Williamson are talking about the greatest skill that one can develop is to learn how to be in a good mood when there's nothing to be in a good mood about, like in your present.
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't require that everything is perfect and everything is going well in order to be happy. Like it's just saying that, hey, if everything is either boring or normal or not even going well, can you be in a good mood regardless? And I think part of that is being comfortable in the uncomfortable and being in situations where previously you'd feel like a panic because you don't have the answer or you've never seen this or they're going to think I look stupid or how are we going to get there? What are the logistics? Hey, what if internally we're not thinking those thoughts, but our thoughts are like, I don't really know how to do this, but we're going to figure it out and we're going to have a good time doing it. There's going to be people honking, but whatever. Like, that's their life.
Yeah. And it's also the like understanding that just because you figure one thing out and you feel comfortable in the uncomfortable, like doesn't mean you're gonna be like that forever, you know? Because you're oh, I've been feeling pretty good the last month. Like everything's going great. Like I would learned how to do that. Oh, I solved that issue, and then all of a sudden a new issue comes up you've never been in, and you're like, oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And then you're all okay. I can panic, or I can take the experiences I've had from the last 25 years of my life and have gone every single time I've panicked. Realistically, I have been okay.
Yep.
Well, I need to remind myself of that, and it's all about that mind frame and changing that mindset and the mind frame of don't panic over something, but instead talk it out, try and solve it, and see what happens, and see where you go from there. And so I've struggled a lot with panicking, right? Having panic attacks. And by the way, I'm not like panicking over like some like the Gophers didn't actually necessarily give me a panic attack. It was that was just an example of like instant stress moment of God, we got to take care of the yard now. What's gonna happen? Like, is the whole yard messed up? It's like
Yeah.
no,
Catastrophic
but
thinking almost.
yeah, yeah. But it's like other stuff where things come up you're not used to, and then all of a sudden you change your entire day because of that. And so, like for example, living in the flood zone, right? And this past year we had to evacuate at like 5 in the morning our house because of the house flooding, and it was just like, oh my god, this is it. this is how I'm gonna go, I guess. Like shit. I gotta call mom, gotta call dad, gotta call Jake. Love you guys. And then, like Jill was just like in her pajamas still, walking around the house, drinking her tea in the morning. She's like, "Why are you rushing? What's going on?" And I'm like I'm packing everything. Like, we gotta move out of here. We gotta go. Like, it's about to flood.
Where are the dogs?
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole neighborhood's like evacuating, but like you just see me running to the car, dropping things off, coming back in, dropping things off, coming back in. We evacuate, and then like an hour and a half later, they're all like, "Oh, we're all good." The rain actually stopped for a little bit, gave some time on the river. The river didn't overflow. I mean, it was about to, but in that moment, there was two different people. There was me panicking while evacuating, and then there was her just mellow, calm, relaxed. Yeah, we need to evacuate, but we don't need to freak out. And I was like, I don't know how you're doing this right now. But now that I've been through it and I've lived through it and I've talked my feelings about it, like with her, in the sense of like how I was feeling during that moment, because I had never experienced evacuating for a flood before, which can be scary at 5 a.m. in the morning on a Wednesday, right? Now I'm like, I think I could probably deal with that a lot better than I did. So now when it happens next year, probably will, to be honest, I'll be like, doesn't mean it's gonna flood. We're just evacuating for precautionary warnings. We're all good. We got our evacuation box. Put it in the car. We're not gonna die. No need to call mom and dad. You can text them.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's the panics that I've been honestly better at the last 6 months, because it's like, why the hell not? Let's pull the trigger. Let's make it happen. Let's make it work. Let's deal with it. And as we deal with it,
it's control you can control.
yeah.
I
So
think so many people get flustered about things that they can't control. And it's you can be frustrated about it, but to like fluster you or to make your life experience dimmer regularly because of things
yeah,
that are out of your control, it's like you're just beating yourself up.
yeah. That's actually something else. I feel like the last 6 months I've gotten a lot better at choosing to be more positive, and I find myself all of a sudden being negative about something or talking trash about something or like, why did they do this? Why did they do that? I don't understand. And then finding myself stopping and going, that does not help the situation at all. It only makes me feel worse. Like I
Yeah,
feel guilty afterwards, right? Or I feel worse about myself. Like I'm the hypocrite. I'm the one being negative. And it's just, I recognize it and I stop myself and I'll just be like, more positive. And there, you could be more positive about you can be so much more positive choosing just not to be negative. You know what I mean? You don't have to be like, what a beautiful day.
yeah,
It's a beautiful day today, huh? Instead, it's just not being like, "Ugh, I'm just so tired today. And yesterday was so long. Choosing to not do that creates that positive effect of, hey, how you doing? The last 6 months, that's what I've also been focusing on is be more positive. And then the times you're negative, like at least recognize yourself being negative. Because if you don't recognize yourself, you're never going to stop. And it's not, I think it's honestly, in my opinion, it's impossible to not ever be negative because things come up and emotions, like negative emotions are a real thing, right? But it's really just how you choose to be negative. And so it's like, for me, I'm like, please recognize when you're negative and try to stop it when it's happening.
yeah,
And it's hard to do though, to be honest. It can be hard.
for sure. And humans have a negativity bias for safety purposes. Like we're supposed to see risks so that we stay alive. But the thing is that the risks that we now are negatively biased towards aren't actually safety oriented. They're like made up issues often. It's also I like the idea that you said of you don't have to necessarily be like over the top positive, but you can reduce the negative. And it's like the absence of negativity at least isn't bringing you or other people down. And I think negativity is spreads like wildfire. You notice it in work projects. If someone on the team is negative, it just kind of brings other people down. You notice it when you're out at a social gathering and someone's in a bad mood and causes other people to like be worried or stressed about them or other people to be upset. I think one thing that's interesting is it's okay to have the negative thoughts, like you just talked about. Like it's okay to like see gophers and have a immediate stressor of, "Oh, we got to deal with this. What is this going to mean for our plans? What does this mean in terms of effort and energy? When am I going to handle this? What do we have to do?" Like, it's okay to have those stressors, but how quickly can you rebound from negative stimulus to back to baseline? Because when you're back at baseline is when you're going to be able to attack those problems, those stressors, with at least somewhat of a level head. And that's been a topic I've read about and talked about with quite a few people recently, is that resilience. There's not a world where you don't have any negative emotions. You don't want to live in that world either. That's not the human experience. But when negative emotion hits and you go down, how quickly can you come back up? And those are the tools that we have. And those are the points of recognition. Hey, I'm recognizing, hey, I have a negative frame of mind on this. How can I think about this in a different way? In 5 years from now, is the thing that's giving me stress going to still be giving me stress? Or am I not even going to remember this moment? If this were to happen to me 1,000 times in a row, would I still get the same stress response, or would it just become normalized? I just learned about that. It's called the veteran's frame. It's basically, if negative things happen to you a lot, then you just kind of get, or the same negative thing happens to you a lot, you kind of just get cut off in traffic. If you just get cut off in traffic, if that happens to you the first time, you go, "Hey, what the hell? Like, what's that about?" But if it happens to you every single day, you're just like, "Oh, it's just someone on the way to their thing." And it
Yeah.
doesn't give you the same level of reaction. And so I think that, paired with the idea of what is in my control, if you can have those two frames, you started smiling, which threw me off. I wasn't sure where your head was at.
You just you painted a picture from my experience in the car. It's just you made me realize like I don't drive in the car very often because I don't drive to work every day, right?
Right.
So when I get cut off, I get pissed. Come on, man, you didn't see me there? Like road rage. And then I just instantly just started thinking of, and when I get pissed, it's just the immediate reaction. It's not like the entire drive. I'm like, I still can't believe 2 hours ago that Honda
That fucking little Honda Accord was such a piece of shit.
2 hours ago, that guy just no, but like in that moment, just like, hey, come on, man, really? And you said that, and I'm all, yeah. I just realized that's a great example because I don't drive very often. So, but if I was doing that consistently every day,
If you're driving through traffic
yeah,
every day, your car pulling out in front of you is not. That's just how
it's
people
it's just
need
how
to
people drive.
drive in order to
Uh,
get to where they need to go.
uh,
That's funny.
no, it's just sorry. It was just hilarious
Did you just
because
have a light bulb go off?
it was just like ding.
It's like, oh, I guess I used to be a piece of shit.
I was like, man, I just now realized like, yeah, I don't do that every day, and so it just makes so much sense in my head. And now I'm starting to think of all the things I don't do every day that I'm like, I get frustrated about. But yeah, no, that was awesome. That was awesome. Go ahead. I didn't mean for that to totally cut you off.
Just a metaphor, guy. No, I mean, I don't need to beat a dead horse, but I think, to all of those different pieces, how quickly can you rebound from a negative stimulation? How often are you in a good mood when there's nothing to necessarily be in a great mood about? And
I like
how
that
can
one.
you focus on controlling what's in your control? For example, flood, evacuation. You have your evacuation box, you have the things that are absolutely critical. All the people and animals that you care for are safe and protected and ready to go, and the flood isn't quite there yet. Realistically, anything else that comes that gets destroyed can be replaced, and you have all the things that can't be replaced. That's what's in your control. And it does help to be in that experience the first time, because yeah, when it's the first time around, you're like, what does this mean? How's this going to go? You could go down the rabbit hole of all of the worst possibilities, and that's something that, you're working on, or everyone can work on. But this brings me just to my travel experience last week, with
Yeah,
all
you.
of the things that went wrong. Flight delayed, flight canceled, hotel being overbooked, flight to where I needed to go not being available till 4 days later, having to fly to a different city and then drive a few hours across, you know, middle of the country. Like, everything that could have gone wrong on that Monday and Tuesday did go wrong, except for the breakfast burrito that I had before the San Jose airport, which was absolutely fire. But after I got that breakfast burrito, like, everything else, the dominoes just fell in a way that I won had no control over. And two, it felt like everything negative was happening to me, like because I'm in my own world. And when I actually got to, the place I needed to go and the people I was meeting up with, they were like, I would have just gone home after that first initial canceled flight. Like, I can't, how are you still in such a good mood? Like, how are you fired up? In my head, I was like, I mean, nothing that happened to me was my fault. And I was just kind of rolling with the punches. A bunch of people along the way that I was sitting in the airport with, sitting at the hotel with, they all had similar issues. Some of those issues were way worse than mine. Flights getting delayed for a 14-hour flight to Amsterdam for a vacation. Missed it. They have to go, they're going to miss a whole day of their vacation. Other people were leaving and then got their flight canceled after uh, going to a funeral for someone in their family. Someone was someone was sitting there on a Saturday, and I was talking to him on Tuesday, and he'd been in the airport slash hotels for 3 days. The day before, he was sitting on the tarmac for 8 hours. They let different sections get up and walk up and down the aisle so that people could move their legs, and then they canceled the flight. So all of these things were happening, and like all the shit was happening to me. But you can look at the flip side of the coin. You could look at other people that are experiencing, and you can also look at it's like at the end of the day, if this work trip, if I get there 2 days late, boo hoo. This could be a vacation that I'm 2 days late for, which would be way more annoying. This could be going to see family or friends that I haven't seen in a long time. That would be way more annoying than, missing some work stuff. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna get back home and I'm gonna be alive, probably. And I'm gonna look back in a year and be like, yeah, that sucked that the flight got canceled, but whatever. So
Right.
people were so shocked, and I'm not. I guess I'm tooting my own horn because I wrote in my journal after that this was just a reminder to myself that I'm someone who can roll with the punches, and it could have been a lot more. It could have been a lot worse of a situation if I was traveling with a bunch of people who were stressed out about it. It would have been different, but I was by myself. I had my things. I didn't lose any of my stuff. We're fine.
Yeah. So you're saying, because it's easy to say to go through it all and then to be in a situation of like, I could have been this person or this person. So like during it, you were like how you are right now. You were
Yeah, I was
happy go
like,
lucky, like,
it
whoa,
kind of it kind of became like funny as it got worse and worse.
you're good at that, by the way. You're good at like, oh, shitty situation. Let's bring in humor. You know what I mean? You're good at that.
And it was just kind of like, all right, we'll figure it out. And I was on the phone with United people, and I was on the phone with people from work, and I was texting people updates like, well, now I'm in Houston. Wasn't supposed to be in Houston. Flying to Tulsa because there's no flight to Arkansas, which means I got to fly to Tulsa, then to drive to Arkansas. And I'm like, never would I, whenever would I ever thought that I would be driving from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Bentonville, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Like, that's a new experience. First time renting a car. That's pretty fun. I don't know. I could have been just pissed for 2 days straight, or I could have just been keeping people updated. I was taking vlog videos while I was driving, or not, while I was on this journey, just keeping people updated. And I was sharing my frustrations with like, this is absolutely ridiculous that I have to find a hotel. And then when I finally got to the place 24 hours after I was supposed to get there, the hotel had canceled my room and I have to get another hotel because the whole thing was booked up for all the hotels within a 5 mile radius because of some conference. And like just shit just kept going wrong, but it was like perfect. Like I got back and I walked into the hotel and I was like, let me into my room. I am so tired. It has been such a long day of traveling. I've been up since X, whatever. And she's like, do you have a reservation? And I said, yep, but it was yesterday, so I'm a little behind. And she was like, did you call? And I said, no, but I booked for the 4 days. And she was like, if you don't call, we cancel it. If it's a no show, no call at 2 a.m. the night of. And so I was like, for sure, book me another room. We'll figure it out later. And she was like, we're full. Like, I don't know what you want me to do. And I looked at her and I said, I'm gonna eat my dinner and then I'll figure this out afterwards. Yeah, so I went, ate my food, just started looking online, hotels.com, etc., just to find whatever was available. And then I ended up at a hotel that was relatively chill. It was kind of in the middle of the woods. It felt like a little retreat sanctuary type area. And then the next day, when they were cleaning my room, they called me and they said, "Hey, the AC is leaking and your entire floor is wet, so we're gonna need to move your rooms. We don't think any of your stuff got damaged, but just wanted to let you know when you get back, we're gonna need to shift you." And I was like, "Perfect, Cheyenne. I really appreciate the update." Of course, this happened.
Yeah, and I feel like the more and more things that happen, the more and more you're just like, okay, because you've already been like,
It's just
what,
part of the story.
like, yeah, that dude, that's a lot though. I'm impressed that you could just be like, you get to the hotel after a long couple of days of traveling, and then they go, no, we don't have your room anymore. I would have been like, what? You were just all, let me just go eat. I'll be back. I don't.
My first reaction was not "let me go eat." It was like, "What do you mean? You're joking, Brittany? You're funny. I like that. You're funny." She's all, "No, I'm serious." And I was like, I'm gonna go get my food really quick.
Crazy. That's a lot. But honestly, I really that was fun to hear. I didn't hear that story. I haven't heard that story yet. And I know you had to go through all that. I just haven't talked to you since then. It's a lot to go through, but it's also another opportunity to show like the more you're in uncomfortable situations, the better you'll be about being uncomfortable. Going through that experience, now anytime you travel is going to be one easy to manage, but also when things happen, things get delayed, your hotel room isn't working out, like you now know what to do or what to expect at least because you've done it. You've been in that situation.
Alex Honnold, he's the guy who free soloed Yosemite Half Dome
Yeah, gnarly.
or El Cap or both. And I saw a clip of him a couple weeks ago talking about how he thinks more people need to experience real fear
Yeah.
and how we just live in this world of abundance and our current fears are not actual fears. It's just stress about things that don't actually threaten our existence. And those who experience fear are so much calmer and at so much more peace in the everyday situations that are quote unquote super stressful. And he's like, I think it's so funny when I'm walking through an airport and there's just people just stressed the fuck out and where am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Oh, the flight got delayed. Oh, where are we gonna? And he's like, you're not hanging off the side of a cliff
Right.
without straps. And when you've experienced that level of fear, these little annoyances just really couldn't bother you because you know that I'm gonna be just sitting here for an extra hour, and I can walk over there and get a coffee, and I can get a bagel, and I can talk to some random stranger who I'll never talk to again, and like life moves on. And I thought about that. I sent that to a group of lads, and I think it's hard to recreate that level of fear for everybody. Like it's gonna be tough to get anyone to go climb El Capitan,
Yeah.
right? So it's gonna be tough to get someone to be like, just join the, get in the ring with a UFC fighter. Like you're not. Most people don't have the opportunity or really are. It's not realistic. And so I think what is available to people on like a much more ubiquitous level is doing hard things. And it's not fear. It's not the I might die if I don't succeed, but it's just the I'm willing and able to push through things that are challenging. And I think that's one of the main reasons why it's such an important thing to do and something that when I have not been doing hard things or I've skipped on it because I've prioritized work or I just haven't been busy enough or I haven't had enough time, I've been too busy or I traveled for 9 days straight and all these things went wrong. One, I'm glad that I have a foundation of doing hard things because I recognize, oh, I haven't been putting myself in a position to test my limits. And also, these things that are hard aren't actually that hard because it's like the quote of once you've wrestled, like everything else in life is easier because you're like, this is so much easier than a 3 hour practice when I'm trying to lose 6 pounds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like every workout is not easy, but easier. And so I think, and that's what I said. I kind of prompted that to my friends of, do you think that experiencing that level of fear is truly required, or can we recreate the benefits of experiencing fear via working out or via some other avenue?
I think it's both in the sense of you can still do fearful things that cause that like sense of fear. Obviously, like you just mentioned, not many people are going to go free solo a rock, like free solo a mountain.
I'm
You
not.
can, right, but you can recreate that by maybe if you have a fear of heights, putting yourself in situations to get better with that fear, like rock climbing with an actual brace and harness, and choosing to sit on the airplane window side and looking down, like causing yourself, obviously, like those people who have those fears, it's fearful, but making yourself go through it and embracing it could allow you to have less stress. But even people without those fears, so like there's other things like skydiving, like that's the adrenaline rush, the idea that you're jumping out of a plane from X amount of feet. I think you can recreate that type of like fear doing those types of activities. Do you know what
Okay,
I mean?
that's a specific fear. Do you think having a fear of heights and then going skydiving is going to mean that you're walking around the rest of life with a little bit less stress? I think it's less about addressing fears and more about experiencing fear.
No, I know what you're talking about. I'm mainly talking about a specific example of somebody who has that fear. Could you go through it, you experience that, you conquer your fear in a way, everything else becomes easier.
Hmm.
But I think putting yourself through activities like that, like the adrenaline rush activity where you can experience that sense of fear, even if you're not afraid of heights, like jumping out of a plane and skydiving is one of those activities that people often talk about where you're just like it's adrenaline, you're jumping out of a plane, you've never experienced it before, you're experiencing the real world in the sense of you're just flying in the air basically and falling. That can create that sense of fear that the guy who's soloing a mountain was talking about in a way. Obviously, that guy didn't have any harnesses on, and you're skydiving with a parachute and an instructor. So there's a level of comfort there, but you're still experiencing that adrenaline of the cow. But I also agree with you in the sense of doing hard things, which is something we've talked about on our podcast multiple times, like doing those hard things and pushing yourself to like hurt in a way, like your body kind of hurts while you're doing it. And then the after feeling of, yeah, I just did that makes everything else easier. I experienced it last weekend when I was running my half marathon. I got to mile 10 and my legs were hurting. Like they were just like, man, what are we doing here? We haven't, like, we don't do this all the time. What's going on? And I was getting that feeling of, I'm gonna have to be done soon. But at mile 10 and telling myself I'm gonna go run this today, why the hell not? Right? I just pushed through those 3 miles and it hurt a lot. That's why I think I see like Tyler Morales on Strava hitting like 13, 15 mile runs at like a 6 minute, 30-second pace to warm up his like week every day, it seems like. I'm like, dang, how does he do it? But back to the point, it's just pushing yourself to do those hard things. And like that those 3 miles I had to run where my legs were hurting, I wanted to be done, but I mentally kept pushing myself because my body was done at that point. So it was all mental from there. Afterwards, I was just like, yeah, it was awesome. And now I think, well, I've ran 13 miles. Like that was hard. Now I know I can do that and I can do other things. So it builds, I think, the sense of confidence in a way when you are tackling or doing hard things. You're all, I've done this before, or I've done something similar to that. I can do it again, you know? So I think they both relate to kind of building up your level of confidence when handling certain situations. I think experiencing real fear, I think that's why people who train to be a in the military or, in becoming a Navy SEAL and having to go through all these excruciating things where they are literally in situations of life or death a lot of the time to train for these scenarios. When they go out in the field, they don't have a sense of fear because they've been through it all already. But I think if,
Or they know how to have fear but still act.
yeah,
They don't,
I,
and not letting fear paralyze or
it's,
overly frustrate to where you're not thinking clearly anymore.
I think it is. I don't even think it's like frustration. I don't even think it's like what I think it is being able to remain calm in fearful situations. If you can remain calm and still have fear, it's a superpower. He was a Marine One. He works with me at my company. He was part of Marine One. He worked with Obama and he was in the military. All this stuff. He often talks about when you are in a situation of panic and you can remain calm, you're going to be able to get through anything. But if you're in a situation of panic and you let yourself panic, you're not going to be able to solve anything because your mind can't think straight. And so that's always kind of stuck with me where it's like, okay, that's very, very true. If you want to be able to solve it, you can't just panic and freak out. You have to remain calm. It's often why people who are pilots or people who are often astronauts, they have the lowest like heart rate and blood pressure on the planet because they are the most calm people you'll ever meet. Like relaxed and calm people, and because they have to be up in the airspace where there's nothing you can do unless you remain calm and solve the issue. And he was talking about like as astronauts, like you only get a certain amount of oxygen. Same thing with scuba divers down below in the sea, like people scuba diving. You can't panic in situations where you're enclosed in a certain amount of space with oxygen. The more you breathe, the more oxygen you take up. And
Yeah.
so they're trained to be put in these panic situations with X amount of oxygen. And then they often see the lowest heart rates and they're relaxed. And it's really interesting, honestly, because I'm not like that at all, as I'm sure you're aware. But if I can try and get better at remaining calm when in a panic, things will get easier.
I mean, it's going back to everything that we've talked about for the last 30 minutes or whatever. It's can you be in a good mood when things aren't good? Because I think it's not necessarily good mood, but it's like if things are bad, can you stay even and not just let the negative stimulus completely change how you're operating? Can you get the negative stimulus, something that can cause panic, and then quickly return to your baseline? Can you focus on what you can control as opposed to the things that are out of your control in situations? And I think all of those things are leading to more calmness under panic. And then I think that wraps it all well together with so, how do we put ourselves in situations to learn how to be more calm? And what are the tools that we have to bounce back quicker and the frame of mind? And I think that goes back to what exactly we were just saying with you don't have to put yourself in a position where you're face to face with a bear to feel fear or to increase that perspective when you're just in normal life. But you can go through and on mile 10, experience the pain, and then continue to work. You have stress, you have everything in your brain saying, I want to be done, I want to quit. And we've all been there where we have given up or we have actually, I'm toast. And then you have that feeling afterwards of like, I could have kept going. Like, I'm okay now. And then the next time you go out there, you're like, I gave up at this point. Like, I'm not doing that again. I think it all coincides.
It does. It's a mix of everything. I think
Yeah.
the biggest lesson though, and it's something that I've thought about a lot because I heard it beginning of the year, it's just learn to remain calm in stressful and panic situations. And something I am always working on. And I think ways I'm working on it are having that in the back of my mind. And when it is actually happening, when I notice myself and I'm aware of a situation where I'm stressed or my heart rate's a little high and it's kind of like panic mode,
Mm-hmm.
being aware and going, learn to remain calm. So then how do you do that? Let's not think worst case scenario first. Let's think, okay, what is the issue? How can I solve it? What are ways I can solve it? And I think it's really human nature and it's really like my own nature to just jump before going like, how am I going to solve this, to like, oh my God, the worst case scenario, it can easily happen if I don't solve this. But instead don't think that way and just go, what are some solutions here that we can do and remain calm? And it's really hard, but I'm going to keep getting better at it because why the hell not? And that's my theme of 2025.
I like it. Is there anything that, like going into the second half of the year, you just said you're, focusing on staying calm in a place of panic. Is there anything that you'd like release? Like you're carrying forward this why the hell not attitude that you've had, that you've been cultivating over the past 6 months. Is there anything that you want to let go going into the second half of the year or that you'd change?
That I would change.
Something that maybe is causing you like, you know what? I tried that out, it's not working for me. Or this is how I've been reacting and this is situations that I keep finding myself in and I don't want to be there anymore?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. I think one of the things is like I need to stop forcing myself, like jam packing my days to try and do everything. Oh, I want to be able to go work out. I want to be able to take the dogs on a walk. I want to go have fun and go do this thing. I want to
Hmm.
go and get these chores done today as well. I also need to work and get this project done. And like instead, just like because when I do that, jam pack your day and you're trying to get all these things done, it often leads to not getting all those things done and going, "Ah, I didn't get this done." Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Which causes the feeling of frustration that you don't need to feel. And so letting go of jam packing your day with all these productive things and instead going more with the flow and being reasonable with yourself and kind of understanding not everything is going to get done in a day or in a week, but if you can go with the flow, put yourselves in situations where you feel like you 80% of the time are improving and 20% of the time like giving yourself grace, like just being better at that because I started off the year so strong that now there are times where if I don't have a day where I'm getting it all done and I'm having that like 100% day, you're making myself feel bad in a way unconsciously, not like sitting there like going, gosh, I didn't get it done. How could you do that? But
Hmm.
instead, just laying in bed, having a thought or two, like a negative thought of, I didn't get the dog walk in today that I wanted to get done. Or I didn't get that project done today at work that I wanted to get done. And learning to just let some things go. So there's a lot I'm dealing with, man. There's a lot. It's crazy. When you start unpacking all these things, you're just like, oh, well, now you want to do the whole why not? Why the hell not? You want to be better. You want to go for more runs. You want to go to the gym a
Sounds like you're
lot. You want to
jam
take the dog
packing.
on a walk. Yeah, it's just all these things I'm trying to get done. I think I need to focus more on the I'm happy and content that I've been able to kind of change my perspective on health. And I'm also excited to just pull the trigger more often and say, like, let's go do this. We'll figure it out. It's going to feel uncomfortable because I'm not used to, I've never been in that city before, or we're not sure where we're going to be, but like, that's okay. That's natural. And also, just as I continue to have these stressful occurrences, as we've talked about, the panic moments, the worries, the anxiety that builds up, just learning to remain calm in those situations and then figure out what to do versus think worst possible case scenario, and this has all been going on for over a year of trying to work it through and work it out. But I will say a year ago this month I started therapy. I haven't been to therapy in like 4 months, and I feel okay that I haven't been to therapy in 4 months, even though we're talking about all these things that I'm trying to get done. It's just learning the tools from therapy is now what I'm applying. Anyways, I just wanted to make sure I said that for the record. But a year ago I started therapy because I didn't know how to handle and control panic attacks, and there was just levels of depression because I wasn't where I thought I should be at my age. Now, like a year later, I have the same sort of issues in the sense of problems and stuff like that, but I now understand why those issues or where those issues stemmed from and how to actually go about and control some emotions and learn how to adjust when things are not going the way I want them to go.
Hmm.
And like that's the realization is you're not going to go to therapy or talk to somebody about what's going on and they're not going to tell you this is why you're feeling that way and everything's going to get better. It's just this is the understanding of where things stem from and how to deal with them on your own, not from other people's help, but on your own mentally is one of the best things you can get from therapy. And so like I haven't been in it for over 4 months now, and I still have panic, not panic attacks, but I still have like panic moments of overthinking in my head, and then learning to adjust and be better at not overthinking, at understanding,
Yeah.
and at deciding and making decisions and all that. And so for me, I want to do less of jam pack my days full of being productive, more of kind of letting that go and going with the flow of the productive days and adding fun to the day and adding a sense of like, let's figure it out to the
Hmm.
day so that I'm put in more uncomfortable situations, meaning like new situations, so that I can continue to adapt that mindset of when new things happen and that you may feel uncomfortable, It's not a time to panic. That's just what everyday life is, you know? And that may sound silly, but for somebody that overthinks all the time, like me, it's really healthy to practice the mindset of remain calm when you're panicking and just figure it out. And part of the reason why you're panicking all the time is because you're jam packing your days. No reason to stress yourself out over a jam packed day that not all these chores or activities or projects or things just didn't get done.
It's a story you tell yourself around it.
Yeah.
You just change the story. You can change the story. It's like with most things. It's the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are or who we've been or who we're going to be or all the things that we're not going to do or all the things that we're going to fail upon.
It brings me back to how I told myself, like how I struggled a lot with, I want to do that. That sounds fun. We should do that. And not doing it.
Yeah.
And for example, the half marathon I told myself I was going to sign up for in December 2024, and then I just decided like I need to go do that because I told myself I was going to do it. Doing more of that, actually following through with the story, but not letting what I haven't done beat me down. You know, letting it be something that I should go do.
And the more you challenge that personal status quo, the more you start to identify as someone who does the thing that they say they're going to do. And so then you start saying things, and it's okay to say those things. But then if you, it breeds confidence, then go do those things. And then and then you don't beat yourself up. You're like, I always say things that I want to do, and then I never actually do them. It's like, yeah, I said I wanted to try that out, and we tried it. That was cool, and I didn't like it, and that's okay. Or I did like it, and I want to do it again. Or that was such a cool experience that we got to go do this, and we handled it, and we figured it out. The next time I have an idea of what I want to do in San Francisco, it's not so crazy foreign or scary,
Right.
which just leads to doing more things. And we've joked about it. You've joked about it with me of calling me like a master traveler. Cause,
Yeah.
and it's not that everything goes right as we explained earlier, but we figure it out. We get to the location that we need to get to and in relatively low amounts of stress. I mean, there was a point in time when I went to an airport and I was like, what the hell do I do? Like, I've never gone through this without someone else. Like, this is my first
I remember
solo
that.
flight. And now it's driving. It's like driving a car where you don't even think about it. There's signs around, there's telling you where to go. You look for your gate, things happen. It's not that hard. But when things are foreign, then
Right.
it's more stressful than it needs to be.
I remember that at that point too. For me, first time I remember the first time I was in an airport, just like, oh my god, this is the first time I'm flying by myself. This is crazy. Like, what do I do? I'm so used to having dad go. We're going over here. You
Right.
know. Now I'm in an airport that I'm like you. It's just like, yeah, this is where we're at. It's more so the uncomfortability, like what it is, dealing with all the other things that need to happen in order to go do that thing.
For
Like
sure.
getting someone to take care of the dogs. Like may sound kind of like you really shouldn't stress about that. Which don't get me wrong, it's just sometimes it's really hard to actually get somebody to take care of the
Sure.
dogs. And then adding to it, it's you think about finances. Then you when you start thinking about finances, this is my overthinking brain, by the way. Get ready. Think about finances, you're like, oh my god, if I go on this trip, how am I going to pay for? How are we going to like pay for this in the future? It's like, well, hang on. Remind yourself that you're also saving every month for vacations and you're saving every month for all these things. But it's that initial like thought that often does not let me pull the trigger of that overthought, like the overthinking creates this full thing of, well, we can't make that happen because of XYZ. Instead, it's let's go do it. And then, like you said, you figure it out after it's all said and done.
I love the phrase of for specifically for concerts. It's just buy the tickets and we'll figure the rest out later.
Yeah, I've heard you say that.
Just buy the tickets. If you can buy the tickets and you want to go to that thing, buy the tickets. If the thing's in 6 months, guess what? You can figure it out the month before of how it's actually going to work. But don't let how are we going to do this in 6 months stop you from doing it at all.
Right. It's a really bad problem to have. I know.
That's actually a good problem to have because you can just buy the tickets next time.
Well, yes, I'm saying it's a bad problem to have in the sense of that's the reason why you're not going to go do the thing because you just don't want to have to figure it out.
I was talking about it with someone. We were talking about Fourth of July plans, and everyone in San Diego is like, "Oh, which beach are you gonna go to?" which makes sense. And at first we were gonna avoid kind of the main PB Mission Beach area because it's just so busy, and that's where we went last year. But I kind of came to the conclusion of like, no, I want to be where it is. I want to be where it's popping off. And I'm with people who are like, well, who's gonna go secure the spot, and where are we gonna park? And
Sounds like me.
it's gonna be such a mission to like walk everything like to the beach. And I'm sitting there, and this guy's telling me this, and I'm like, it's the 4th of July. It's gonna be a shit show regardless. Why are we not gonna go do the thing that we want to do? Because, well, where are we gonna park? We'll Uber. It'll be $20 for 4 of us to get there. Like, we'll be fine. Don't let effort get in the way of doing things that you want to do.
Yep, and that's what I need to work on. That's exactly it. And it's the effort. It's not like, oh, I'm too lazy to do it. It's the stress of it all. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's a silly reason to not go do something. And I'm fully aware of that. That's why I'm trying to work on it, right? I don't know why. I don't know where it stems from. Why I do that.
Yeah.
And it's something I've always had a problem with, and it's just something I'm working on and trying to get better at. And so like ways I'm getting better at it are just one, forcing myself to do these things.
Yeah.
And Jill's been really helpful with it because she's just like, we'll figure it out. It's gonna be fun. I love you. That's why I need you. Yep.
So
Pull the trigger.
literally all it is.
Yeah. And people listening to this right now, they're gonna be like, does this guy do anything fun? Like, what's this guy's deal? Yes, I do. Okay. I'm working on it. All right. I just don't do it every weekend.
I just wind myself up before I do it.
Just anxious anxiety,
And
man.
then
God.
everything works out every single time.
And I always have a fun time. I'm always like, we got to do that again. So yeah, I am taking full accountability.
There's fish in the water, Cole. It's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, we don't need to get into that. But yeah, I'm glad you asked that because it is 6 months into 2025 and pretty cool actually how long we've been having these conversations for. We started in November, just so you know, 2024. But I think that's what I want to work on. I want to work on a few things. Just remaining calm when panicking in stressful situations, pulling the trigger and doing more things, and not stressing myself over how I'm going to get there or my responsibilities and who's going to take care of them when I'm not there.
Not jam packing every single day so that you
Not
don't.
jam packing. Yeah,
So do more, but don't jam pack.
exactly.
I mean, it makes sense.
It's more of, do more of those pull the trigger moments and don't jam pack your day every day to have the most productive day possible because it's just not possible and you actually create a negative effect thinking, oh, I didn't get this done, what a bummer. Like
Yeah.
instead just, oh no, I got these done today and I'm going with the flow, I'll get it done tomorrow, doesn't need to get done today. So I think those are some things I want to continue to work on and I will. It'll be good.
Hell yeah.
Hey, thank you for listening to episode 16 of the Earn Your Couch podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation today, we encourage you to share with a friend or family member who may also benefit from the conversation we had today. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you on the next episode.